All right, so today we're going to take a look at the Jewish Temple Mount and also the city of David and the complex around it, a few features of those. This is the southern end of the Jewish Temple complex, and here's a picture of my wife Kim. She's got her hand on one of the stones that Herod the Great in his construction here put here. And so this is a very sacred, somber place. But across the street from this temple complex, right across the street, is the old city of David. It goes all the way back to the Canaanite time period before David defeated them. This is actually David's palace. This was discovered by archaeologists just recently, maybe a decade ago, and verification that this does indeed appear to be David's palace. And so we have some construction here of the palace complex. In addition to that, he did store for a while the Ark of the Covenant. And there's a section even here where speculation about what he might have done with the Ark of the Covenant in terms of storage here at his place before the temple could be completed. There's also the wall of Nehemiah runs just outside this palace structure. Now, at the bottom of this is Warren Shaft, and we're told in the Bible that David defeats the city by sneaking up through the water system of the city. Probably came right through this area. And this is a Canaanite cave. We didn't get to walk through Hezekiah's tunnel. They got so much rain that the water wasn't safe. The tunnel for Hezekiah is about 6 football fields long, so about 3 times longer than this one, and is about 18 inches, in fact, deeper right now in depth than you walk through water about 18 inches deep. And it was really running pretty hard too. We looked at the entrance. The entrance is tiny to that cave. It's way smaller than this. I was looking forward to that. I'll have to come back to Jerusalem to walk through Hezekiah's tunnel some other time. But anyway, this is from 1,000 years prior to Hezekiah's tunnel. The Canaanites built a tunnel here. And the idea is that they could go out to the Gihon Spring and get water and carry it back into the city, inside the city wall, and so you'd be safe from attack, and they could hide the spring entrance so that even the attacking army wouldn't know about the freshwater spring there, and then carry the water into the city. Now, when Hezekiah is confronted with a challenge with Sennacherib comes and wants to put a siege on the city. Hezekiah is worried about water supply, and so they go even further than this. They dig a massive tunnel, 6 football fields long, and it empties here, the water empties here from the Gihon Spring into the pool of Siloam. This was just recently uncovered. And so this massive pool structure, and you know this from the Bible, this is where Jesus heals the man who was born blind. John chapter 9, he makes mud, puts it in the man's eyes, and tells him to wash here. Now, one really amazing thing about the trip and the hike today, the walk today, from the pool of Siloam back up to the temple complex, there is a pathway. And this pathway probably dates originally all the way back to Solomon. But the structures we see here are almost certainly from Herod the Great. He is quite the builder. He built multiple palaces, and we saw last week the Herodium along with Masada. He's quite the construction guy, and he built this. The path was already here probably from the days of Solomon, but when the city gets rebuilt under Nehemiah and under Ezra, by the time of Herod the Great, the population has grown dramatically. Travelers from around the world are increasing, and so he wants people to impress, and he comes in and builds this very elaborate pathway from the Pool of Siloam up to the temple complex. And there's so many biblical events here, in addition to John 9. During the Feast of Tabernacles, which John 9 is part of, the Feast of Tabernacles, there is a tradition by the officials of the temple to, during that feast, those 8 days, to every day begin the day by walking down to the Pool of Siloam with a golden pitcher, filling it up in the pool, and then walking up this path all the way to the temple, and then pouring it out on the altar as a thanksgiving offering to God for giving us rain for our crops. Now, they're still excavating quite a bit here, and you saw those buckets on the chains there. They have to go through every single piece. They wash each and every piece. Now, right here, you can see down to the foundation, even below this. This is where I think they may be even earlier than Solomon down in some of these areas. I mean, all the way back to Solomon's day, at least. And so as you head up this path, we think about some of the other times that Jesus and his disciples outside of John chapter 9 likely would have walked this path, encounters they had in their trips to Jerusalem, days like John chapter 2, and when Jesus comes and cleanses the temple. And also, there are other biblical events in the Gospel of John that are included with reference to this area. And so Jesus and his disciples likely walked this path quite often. And in addition to that, the city of Jerusalem as the temple, Herod the Great, he added a tremendous amount of structure to the temple complex. He came with these massive boulders, and they expanded the temple, the top of the temple mount itself, and leveled it off. They moved in these huge 20-ton plus boulders and perfectly cut, squared off, rectangled off, and placed them perfectly here. And it's really quite amazing. Now, when Jesus was with his disciples, they asked him about the temple, like, look at these buildings. And Jesus told them, the temple won't be here. Every stone will be, not one stone will be left upon another. And we can see at the base of the temple here that though the foundational wall, the retention wall, still has some of the bricks from Herod the Great's days, they don't go up as high as they used to. And you can see the construction where later the Crusaders and then eventually the Turks came and extended the wall back up to where it once was. But the old stones that were on top of the wall, you can see them all around the base of the western wall. And one of the ways they were able to do this, given how heavy these stones were, how were they able to destroy it so quickly, is that they would set the stones on fire. There was water trapped within them, and when you get the water to a boiling point, they would literally explode. And that's why they're not whole rocks. They're broken in fragments, not just from the fall, but from catching them on fire. And this is the reason some of them do appear burnt, like you can see that they're blackened with fire. And so there's a whole stack of these stones along the base of the wall. There'd be a lot more, except for during the time of the Crusades, and then after the time the Muslims were reigning here, they used some of these stones to build other buildings. And so you can see them actually in parts of other buildings on this complex. But anyway, so we're coming up here now to the Western Wall. This is a very sacred site, the most sacred site in Judaism right now. As we come up here, you can see, in fact, there's some guys doing some archaeology right there. You can see, in fact, how high, from where we are right now, how high it is to the top of the temple complex. And if you see off there, this area right here, we're almost to the base of Herod the Great's foundation. It goes a little bit lower than this. And as you head down the Western Wall, you can see how high it gets. And there's a huge section up here where they have not cleared out the debris from this time. And this is a picture of the Western Wall. We got to go a couple of times up on the Western Wall here. Jewish people come here today and they pray. We saw people coming and going, the whole time we were there. They take pieces of paper and write prayers on them and put them in the crevices of the rocks. And there's me and Kim, just so we have evidence we were actually there. And so this is at night. It's very beautiful at night. It's a really cool place to visit at night. But here's a picture of the whole wall. And this is where Jews come to pray, to worship. And it's a very sacred place. So you have to be very respectful of this location. But it is a very sacred place.